Hey everyone. Today's question comes from Rachel. Rachel says, "This month has been rough. I've been very irritable and grumpy. I don't know why. I feel like a complete disaster inside, and I know I take it out on my husband and kids. When my husband asks me what's wrong, I don't have an answer. I really don't know why. I'm just pissed about everything, and I feel this rage inside of me. I'm trying to figure out why I'm feeling this way, but I'm not coming up with much. I'm so ashamed by my behavior. I don't want to be grumpy and angry and I tell myself to knock it off and snap out of it, but it seems beyond my control. I know there are people who have it way worse than us, but I can't seem to snap out of my self pity and anger. I know I should be grateful for my family and for our health and the fact that we have everything that we need and more. I think the problem might be that I often compare our life to other people's, and we always seem to come up short, even if they aren't a real family like one in a movie or in on TV. All I can think of is how they have it better than us. I get down on my husband for not being a better provider, and I get down on my kids for not being perfect. I hate myself even as I write this. So, how can I possibly tell my husband these horrible things? I see the sadness in my kids' faces when I act this way. I love them so much. How can I treat them like this? I need your help, Jane. How can I stop thinking and feeling these horrible thoughts? Okay, Rachel, thank you so much for your question. I feel like with you, I just want to slow everything down. I just want to rein it all in for a minute and help you find a little compassion for yourself. You have so much judgment for yourself for having human thoughts and feelings. And because you haven't taken the time to really allow those feelings and process them, they keep building up inside of you until you get to the point where you sort of blow up or lash out at your family. And I know as you've discovered, that doesn't really make you feel better at all. It simply adds to your feelings of guilt, your feelings of shame, and creates more distance between you and your family. I sense that you have so much resistance to allowing your emotions. And that's really the key to all of this. As I read your email, I noticed that it took a few paragraphs before you were really even willing to look at the thoughts that were creating this emotion for you. You definitely have a manual for yourself. And a manual is simply an instruction book of how we ought to behave. And your manual for yourself is that you shouldn't have these thoughts. So you try to push them away. And instead of just bringing them out to light, they kind of fester. So when we bring them out and we take a good look at them, that's when we can gain some traction. That's where we can find some relief. For all of you, this is so important. Hear me. You are not your thoughts. For Rachel, I can tell she feels so much guilt and shame over this, but she's not understanding. This is not her, she is not her thoughts. Like we are not our thoughts. Think about that very carefully. Our brains present thoughts to us as if they're just true. And if we believe everything that we think, it can create a lot of internal drama. Tons of drama, right? So the reason that you're conflicted here, Rachel, is that you have two competing thoughts. One is on this hand, we have everything we need and more. And the other is we don't measure up to other families. We don't have what they have. We're not as good as they are. All of that thinking when we compare ourselves. So let's take a look at your model. Up here in your circumstance line, we have I compare our family to other families. Okay, that's what you do. That's your action. And since it's in the past, we can put that up there. Most of the time it's other people's behavior and things that other people say and do, but if it's also actions that we've taken in the past, we can put that in our circumstance line. So I compare our family to other families. And your thought is we always come up short. Something like that. Everyone else has more than us or is better than us in some way. That's kind of how we feel when we compare ourselves and we find ourselves lacking, right? The feeling when we compare and we come up short is jealousy. We feel jealous. We want what other people have. We're jealous that we don't have what they have. So, how do you act with your family when you're feeling jealous? Okay. So, the way I show up is I'm acting grumpy. I find faults and imperfections. I'm beating myself up. I'm thinking of all the ways that we don't measure up. So, I'm kind of ruminating. I'm getting angry and resentful. Um, I beat myself up for acting and feeling this way. I ruminate, keep spinning in all of this um, resentful thinking, and then I blow up at the husband and kids, right? And your result, when you have this thought, we always come up short, makes you feel jealous and act this way. Your result is, I'm not the wife and mom I want to be. I'm the one that comes up short. I come up short from my own expectations. I'm not living the life that I want to live, the person who I want to be, right? So, the very first step is just to notice when you start to feel jealousy. That's your primary emotion here. And it's what you feel when you compare yourself to other families. So if you can just address your jealousy when you first notice it and allow it to be in your body and process it in a healthy way, that will keep it from growing and escalating into anger and resentment and shame. You can keep a bad day from turning into a bad month. Okay. So once you notice and you process that primary emotion of jealousy, you need to find the thought behind it. In this case, it's we always come up short. Once you have your thought, I want you to write it down. Get it out of your brain and down onto paper so that you can really question it. And then ask yourself, like, how is this not true? In what ways is our family perfect? And is it possible that I'm comparing other people's very best to our very worst? Is this thought one that I want to keep? So, this is the work that will give you some relief, but you really have to be willing to take a look at that thought. Allow yourself to recognize that you have that thought and get it out of your head and really question it. And allow yourself to feel that negative emotion. That is what you need to do so you don't feel like you're in so much resistance. Um, so what does it mean to process emotion? Let's talk about that for just a second. A lot of people mistakenly believe when I say allow your emotions, it means to like sink into them. It means like to spend the day on the couch and cry and kind of wallow in misery. And that sort of indulging in pain and indulging in not thinking, it's staying stuck in that thought loop that's creating pain. And that's really not what I'm talking about here. There are times, certainly, when we're mourning, when we're experiencing clean pain, we've lost something or a person that was dear to us, when we really, it's okay to have a good cry. It's totally appropriate. And some downtime is totally appropriate. But that's really not what we're talking about in this situation. In this situation, we want to feel the emotion. We want to allow it into our bodies. We want to breathe it in and welcome it as part of our human experience. We want to say, ah, this is what jealousy feels like, and just watch it in our body. Notice it, watch it, observe it, name it. Let it stay as long as it wants to. Just breathe into it and let it stay until it is able to dissipate on its own. The more you try to force it away and not feel that emotion, that vibration of a negative emotion, the more you try to push it away, the more that it will stay, the more that it will build and become a problem later. So you've probably all heard this saying before, but it's super true. And I think it's totally applicable here and maybe helpful for all of us. And that is comparison is the thief of joy. It will absolutely 100% rob you of your peace and your contentment. So, really pay attention to your brains. And when you notice thoughts of comparing yourself, whether it's physically or emotionally or with your body, with your home, with your family, with your vacations, with your hair, with your eyes, with your talents, any of that, whenever we compare ourselves, we're inviting some pain. And so just recognize those thoughts when they come, and when you recognize them, that's time to do some thought work. Okay. So I hope this is helpful for you. That's it for today. If you haven't joined my Facebook group yet, why not? You need to get in there. We have such a great community of like minded women who are passionate about making their marriages amazing. And I'm in there all the time. Um, giving free content and offering some tips and tools. So join us there. You can just go to my website. It's janecopier.com. Scroll to the bottom of any page and click on the Facebook icon, and that will take you right to my page. Hope you guys have a wonderful week.